Everybody, it's Jay Rowe. We're going to be looking at a chess trap today in the Ruy Lopez, and it's called the Mortimer trap. And it's used by black in the hopes that white gets a little bit greedy for material in the beginning of the match, unleashing a whole bunch of problems for the white player. Now, as you can see here, we're in the standard Ruy Lopez, and instead of playing something like pawn to a6, trying to stimulate an exchange variation, black's going to play knight to f6, and that attacks immediately the undefended pawn on e4. And a common move from white in this position is to play pawn to d3. Now, if white does play pawn to d3 in this position, we can now lay the trap for the white player. And it's a kind of an odd looking move, but you're going to see what it does here. So the black move to get into the Mortimer trap is knight to e7. Now you'll notice two things right off the bat. This knight is very poorly placed, but more importantly, this pawn is now undefended. And if the white player gets a little bit greedy here for material and comes in and takes that pawn, it's fallen for the trap, and it's going to be in a lot of trouble. And the next move from black in the Mortimer trap is pawn to c6, and you'll notice that it's attacking the bishop, so white has to do something about that. But unfortunately for white, there's not much that it can do. Let's say white player plays bishop to a4, trying to protect the bishop and get it out of danger. Well, this opens up a very beautiful discovered check here on the enemy king. That's going to result in a lot of problems for white. So black comes in and checks. White can block with a bishop. Black can take the knight outright, and you'll also notice here that black also has an attack on another undefended pawn. So already in the match, white is down a full piece. Now this takes place even if from this position white tries to save the bishop by going to c4, because the checking line is still open. So what's the best move for white in this position? Well, unfortunately for white, as in all traps, there is no best move once they fall for the initial line. I guess a better move for white in this position would be to play knight to c4. Now, knight to c4 makes it impossible for black to capture this bishop right away. You'll notice that the black king is surrounded by its own pieces. So basically all white would need to do if the bishop is captured is to deliver a smothered mate here on d6, and it's game over. But in this position, it's still not good for white, and I'll show you why. In this position, black can simply play pawn to d6. Now this gives its king an escape square, but more importantly, this bishop is still under attack, and white needs to do something about that. And the only square now that this bishop can go to is a4. And once the bishop moves to a4, black simply comes in now with a nice pawn move to b5, forking the knight and the bishop, and white once again is going to go down a piece. So it's a nice trap, and it's definitely something that I think would work very well in blitz games. I don't usually recommend chess traps in long rated standard matches, simply because if you're playing against a positionally sound player, they probably won't capture this pawn, and you'll be the person that's stuck with a very odd looking piece here on e7. But I think in a blitz match you'll have a lot of good luck here with this trap, because a lot of players in blitz might get a little bit greedy for material much more easier than they would in a normal match, and once they do, you can deliver a whole lot of hurt onto your white opponent. So take care. Hope you enjoyed the video, and